Who's ready for some hammer fab? Got to get this engine bay just detailed a little bit. It's been sitting here for a couple of weeks while I was out of town, so just using a little bit of quick detailer just to freshen it up a little bit before we start. We're gonna mock up the new front K-member so that we can check it, make sure it fits good before we final weld it. So basically, the reason we're doing that is because I don't have my jig made yet, so we're gonna use the car as the jig once again. And then I can go ahead and finalize this car, and then we'll have a jig for the next car. What do you guys think of the engine bay? This turned out pretty good, huh? The way we chopped off the towers here. We got some seam sealer tape there. This is our 14 gauge inner fender panels that will come with the kit. This is the spring notch that'll be part of the kit. As you can see, the inside of the frame rails here is still stock. So you don't completely cut up the stock frame, but you do have to cut it a little bit so that we can get that narrow track width. That's the difference between our front suspension and other companies' front suspensions, is we went the extra mile to get that track width nice and tight and narrow so that you can have a cool looking wheel. You know, the other ones that are available, I didn't care for how they made the wheel and tire look. You end up kind of stuck with a stupid looking wheel. So with ours, you can have a cool looking wheel. But yeah, we filled a few holes on the firewall, left it pretty much factory looking. You know, this yellow color is okay. It's not my favorite, but it's such a clean car. I didn't want to mess it up too bad. So ultimately I would like the car to be like a blue or something in the end, but I didn't want to go that route right now because I would have to do a whole paint job, have to do a whole different color interior, and on and on and on. I didn't want to do all that right now. So that's why we went back with the yellow firewall and yellow inner fenders for now. So yeah, so we're getting closer to being able to put this car together. So let's get to it. We're gonna use some blue painter's tape like you can get at Home Depot. This stuff is low tack. We're gonna protect the inside of the frame rail right here while I test fit the new K-member. The bottom of the frame has Raptor liner on it. The outside has Raptor liner, but the inside is just satin black paint. I just don't want to scratch it up during this test fit. So we're going to do that. All right, that should be good. We shouldn't really be touching it anywhere else, just on the bottom, but it's Raptor liner, so I don't think we'll really mess that up. This front Crossmember, I haven't weighed it yet, but it probably feels like it's about 40 pounds. All right, can you push that forward just a little bit? Okay, that's good. Right there. Looking good. Looking good. Looking good. Okay. Ooh, she's snug. All right, let me go grab some bolts so we can bolt this in, but look how nice that thing fits. Dang. Thing's perfect. All right, so we test fit it. I gotta clearance the edge of this sharp edge on this brace, mainly because we did a little bit of body working right here and it's hitting that. So if we didn't add this piece, it wouldn't be a problem, but just to kind of massage it a little bit. This is why you always test fit your parts before you fully weld it and powder coat it. Now we're fully flush. That's all the way tight. That's all we needed was just that little bit of clearance. All right, now I'm gonna go get some bolts and we can start mocking up the front suspension. Well, we don't really need to put the whole front suspension in there. I just need to check a few things. It's nice to have the peace of mind. Now that this thing fits so good in there, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna tighten it up to the frame and then put some more tack welds on it. And then we'll take it out and fully weld it. We'll clamp it down and jig it and weld it on the bench. That's gonna be nice. Dang, man, sound like everybody's trying to get in here. Hear that banging? People trying to knock down the doors, get hammer fab cars built. info@hammerfab.com. You wanna have something built? Hit us up. You don't have to bang on the door. Just send us an email. All right, these are the new spring towers. Look at that, it's beautiful. Perfect laser cut, CNC bent, and MIG welded parts. We welded these in-house. We had High Point powder coating right down the road, powder coat them for us in satin black. Those look amazing. Now this is the short spring version. This is for a 12-inch spring. We also have a version that's gonna be the 14-inch spring in case you want a taller spring. But on slow back here, we're gonna be using a 12-inch spring. Let's get these bolted in. All right, it's usually a good idea to run a tap through your holes to clean out any powder coating or misalignment. They should be perfectly aligned, but I've got the two bolts in the top here. You notice I don't have the spring tower in there yet. We're gonna do that in a minute, but first I wanna clean out and verify that these threads are gonna line up correctly. Now you may have to open these holes up just a little bit, but it should go in there pretty easy. The threads are already tapped in the thick piece. All we're doing is just making sure that the bolt goes in nice and easy. All right, and then I'm gonna go ahead and put a bolt in that one. I got a little bit of, well, this one does, a little bit of anti-seize on there. Okay, then we're gonna run a tap through this one. Should go in pretty easy because all the other three are already lined up. We are good to go. So now I'm gonna take them out and we're gonna sandwich. Actually, before I get too ahead, well, we're gonna test something here. We're gonna put it on. We're gonna see if we can get the control arm in there. I don't think we can. Yeah, nope, we gotta put the control arm on first. Good thing I caught that. Learning, much learning. All right, let me get a front control arm. So we bagged and tagged our stuff so it was easy to find. And then we kept our spacers in there for now. These are just placeholders, or you could potentially modify these on a lathe and turn them down to the correct length, or you could just use shims for when you do your alignment. But for right now, we're just gonna use it as a spacer so that we can bolt up the upper control arm. So here's the upper control arm. It's a Mustang 2 style. Normal deal, nothing special about it. This will be part of the kit. You want the arch facing up, and then we've got to go through the hole like this, and it barely fits through there like that. Then we got to reach underneath, put our bolt through, put our spacer on. You know, you might want to have two people help you with this. I got it. And you do the same thing to the other side. I'm glad I put this here. Like, that's perfect for getting your arm in there. It's not really what it's for, but. All right, so we just got those snug. All right, that's looking good. We're gonna add a bump stop right here so that when the suspension droops, it doesn't crash into the frame right here. So we'll just preload it so that it stops right there like that. So we need to mark that while we have this here. Actually need some more tape right there and right here. And now I want that bump stop to be right in the middle. And then we'll drill and tap that. Since this is thicker, this is like 1/8 inch, we can drill and tap that and put the bump stop right there on top. It's gonna be a real short one. Okay, so we got to remember to do that. Now we're ready to install the spring tower. slide it up underneath the control arm. Start your threads by hand. Make sure that the threads engage to the thick plate before you start tightening. Now I would recommend using some red Loctite during final assembly, but right now we've got just a little bit of anti-seize on there so we don't gall the threads. Okay, that's snug enough to test fit. As you can see, we clear everywhere. That clears really nice. This is all looking really nice down here. That's the way it should look in the end. Now, the lower control arms, the bolts come in from the back. They go all the way through the rear cross member, and then the front is threaded already for your bolt. I gotta get a socket for that, but it's threaded in there. All right, you can see here how we zip tied the spacers to the coil spring so that we don't lose our spacers. Speeds up the process. All right, so we're just gonna back that out far enough to get this on. Okay, now on this front suspension kit, it requires the strut style adjustable spring. This one's from Ride Tech. So we've got a little ball joint Delrin plastic thingy that has a sleeve in it. That will fit up in here perfectly like that. So we put that on, and then we install the spring. Now you have to lift the upper control arm a little bit, make sure that engages in the hole, and then now it's a little tricky. This is where it might be helpful to have two people. Delrin first, but flat side down. There you go. There you go. Perfect. All right, and then you raise the lower. Slide that through, add the second spacer, and then you thread it in. When done correctly, that upper control arm should clear the spring without hitting anything. Now, the one thing that could be a variable there is the shims for your alignment. So if you end up having to suck one side in too much or something, that could potentially hit right there. So you might have to adjust the hole in the top just a little bit. But right out of the gate, it should be good. Now we're ready to test the Wilwood Pro spindle. Now on final assembly, you want to make sure that you get these nice and tight, and make sure that you put a cotter key through the castle nut. Make sure your ball joints are tight first. Might even want to put a little bit of Loctite on the ball joints so they don't come loose. But there you go, one Barracuda front suspension. All right, now we're going to bolt up the other side of the cross member, and then we'll test the sway bar. So we're going to get an awl. This is all you need to align the front of your suspension. You see how that's out of alignment? You need to use that to align it, and you just wiggle it until it goes in there, and then you can sight through there and line up on your hole. Make sure you use some anti-seize on your threads. And on this side, see when I pull that out, see how it gets out of alignment? On this side, we're just gonna mock up the spring tower for right now because we still gotta tack weld the inside. We're not actually bolting it all up right now. But you wanna do that, and that'll kind of help you hold it in place while you start your threads. Kind of wiggle it as you thread it in. If it doesn't go in by hand, you're probably doing something wrong. Or you may need to run a tap through it. I run them down with a cordless drill first, just so you don't mess something up. All right, now it's not going anywhere. Now I'm gonna run a tap through the bottom ones just in case. If you're confident enough to power tap these, you can do that too with a cordless drill. You just need to make sure that you're going in straight. See how easy that one went? It's because that one was already lined up. Those holes are perfectly aligned with each other. A bit of anti-seize, start it by hand. All right, we're ready for some shims up top. You got it?
Yeah.
Other one?
Yeah.
Are they tight?
Yeah.
Top again.
Okay.
They tight?
Yeah, it's tight.
All right, cool. Cool, now it's all bolted up. We can test fit the sway bar and then do some more tack welding. Basically, you could do it this way on your car if you want. You know, obviously, if you're gonna be getting the weld up kit and you don't want us to weld it all, you're gonna have to do it this way. So you're gonna have to mock it up on your car, tack it, put it all together, tighten everything up, then tack it together while it's in the car, then take it apart. Or you could just weld it in the car if you want. Some guys are gonna do that, and that's fine too. Just know that it's gonna be harder to get your engine and transmission out that way. So we're ready to test fit the front sway bar and take this bad boy out, final weld it, send it to powder coat. Once again, we've got all our parts bagged and tagged really neatly. We've got the billet aluminum sway bar bushings that will bolt right there. Now, depending on which lower control arms you get, you may need to flip these like that, and that will position the sway bar either an inch rearward or an inch forward. So you have some adjustability there, okay? Comes with the hardware. All right, now we're gonna leave that just a little bit loose because we want a little bit of wiggle room so that the sway bar shaft slides all the way through there. Easily. Put your Delrin bushing in. You take the spline sway bar, slide it through to the other side. Like that. Let's go do the other side. You can never have too many tools, especially hammer fab tools. See how much better that one works? All right, now that one's snug. I still gotta use this for this side. Okay, now put this Delrin sleeve in. It's a tight fit, so you gotta make sure you get it started, otherwise you can mess it up. It's an airtight fit. All right, now I'm gonna slide this through to this side. Okay, all right, now you've got these lock collars that you put on. You basically slide those all the way up to the Delrin, and then you tighten the set screw. All right, we had the links powder coated satin black. Look at how nice that is. So now you got to inspect the splines and make sure that there's not powder coating in the splines. Look at that, look how nice they did. They didn't get any powder coating in the splines. I don't have to file it at all. These guys are paying attention. That's high point powder coating for you. If you guys need some nice powder coating. All right, so now put the splines on. Look at that, they went right on. That's the first time I've ever had that happen. Yeah, so this part of the kit, we have to modify the lower control arm. And so right now I don't have the lower control arm or the lower sway bar mount on the lower control arm. So right now I'm just kind of mocking it up, but there is another mount that bolts to this lower control arm. And we've already tested that on the other side. And basically this is what your sway bar links look like. They've got lock nuts and everything on them. So they'll bolt, I believe, like this. And like that. And then this comes down there to the mount that bolts onto the control arm. And that, you can adjust that side to side until it's perfect right there. So it'll be just about like that. And actually a little higher, so the steering never interferes with it, wherever it is. It's like right there, further. I think it's like right up there. And you can get full lock to lock on it. We've already tested all that. Yep, it's right about there because this will clear the chassis. So that's about right where it goes. All right, using the car as a jig, we've got the front suspension mocked up, tightened up, and now we're gonna TIG it up. sure you've noticed by now, but I decided to use the car as a jig to fully weld it. Just got to get used to uncomfortable positions.